So before we get like straight into factoring polynomials, let's remind ourselves of what a factor is. So let's say I have 56 and I'm dividing it by 7 and by 5. Notice that when I put 7 into 56, I can do it 8 times. I get 56 and my remainder is 0. If I put 5 into 56, I end up with getting, sorry, that's a 0. I think 11 with a remainder of 1. So notice that this remainder is 1, but this is a remainder of 0. So that means that 7 is a factor, but 5 is not a factor because the remainder is not 0. So there's something called the factor theorem, and it states that something is a factor if the remainder is 0 when we divide. So this applies to numbers, but it also applies to polynomials, because we can do the same thing with division of polynomials, just with like synthetic division. So take, for example, 10x squared minus 25x minus 125. And let's say I want to find out if x minus 5 is a factor of this. So I'm going to use synthetic division, so that's that upside down bar, to find out if it is indeed a factor. So if you need a reminder of synthetic division, go ahead and watch the other video I made about synthetic division. So we set it up by putting the opposites, so this becomes 5, and then inside we just put the coefficients. And then we bring down the first number, that's 10, we multiply it, put that up there, that's 50. We'll get positive 25, multiply it again by the now 5 times 25, which gives us 125, and 0 at the end. So if you can remember writing the answer, it would be like 10x plus 25 plus 0 divided by x minus 5. But because it's 0, we don't even have to write that, and our remainder is 0. So remember that the factor theorem says that if anything has a remainder of 0 when we divide, it is a factor. So yes, x minus 5 is a factor because the remainder is 0 when we divide it. So make sure you understand that synthetic division part before we move on. So factors come in handy if I'm trying to find the rest of the factors of an equation. So for example, let's say I have x cubed plus 5x squared minus 2x minus 24. If I know x minus 2 is a factor, like if the problem in the test tells me that x minus 2 is a factor, I can follow a couple of steps to factor this completely. So to factor completely means to move from like something that looks like this, like something ugly, blah, 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 to these little things here. So we want to get 2 parentheses instead of a bunch of things because that's going to tell us the x-intercepts. So the first thing I'm going to do is divide. So I'm going to divide by the factor. So if I divide x cubed plus 5x squared minus 2x minus 24 by x minus 2, I can just use the synthetic division to find whatever's on the bottom. So I would do 1, 5, negative 2. My pen's not working. Negative 24. And then just complete everything. So that would be 12, 24, and 0. Okay, so our remainder is 0. We're good with that. And so the answer to when we divide x cubed plus 5x squared minus 2x minus 24 by x minus 2 is going to be equal to x plus x squared plus 7x plus 12. And that's step 1. But notice that we have a 2 here. So step 2 is we can actually use factoring using quadratics. And that's in another video, factoring quadratics. And that's where you multiply a times c, and then you find p and q such that p times q equals a times c, and when you add them, it equals to b. And so I'm just going to tell you that p is equal to 3 and q is equal to 4 right now. And so I can split this up, so I get x squared plus 3x plus 4x plus 12. And then when I simplify that, I add my parentheses, I take out the GCF. And remember that these two parentheses have to match. I end up with x plus 3 times, and then whatever's on the outside, so x plus 4. And so my third step is to write the answer. So I already knew that x minus 2 is a factor because that was given to me over here. But now I can write these two equations. So I get x plus 3, x plus 4. Because all I did was take out x minus 2 before and then factor what was left. And so this whole statement here is equal to the same thing as saying, I'm going to use purple actually. Same thing as saying x cubed plus 5x squared minus 2x minus 24. So these are what helps us to be able to factor something completely. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in my next video. But this helps us to find the x-intercept. So let's say I have now x minus 2, x plus 3, and x minus 4. That helps me to graph it later on. And I'll show that in the next video. So for the homework for today, even though we went through all this stuff, really I'm more worried about you doing the synthetic division. So the homework just asks you to find if the remainder is 0 or not. If it's 0, remember it's a factor. If it's not 0, it's not a factor. So hopefully that helps to explain a little bit more about why factoring matters and how to do it.